Water Buffalo TM. Motherfucker. Water Buffalo TM is back with another Buff Talk.
3, 2, 1. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Old School Matt here. We are back with another Buff Talk. I'm here with the boy, Chris Trevino, aka Trevino Fitness. What's up, guys? It is another Buff Talk, and today we're going to be taking some questions we got from a prior video and including them onto this live or this Buff Talk. And it's going to be all about fitness. So some random questions we got from you guys out there, and Chris is going to read off some of the questions. We're going to do a little bit of a back and forth. We picked out 10 questions. We really only got 10 questions, so that's what we're going to do. So without further ado, before we start, what's going on, Chris?
Not much, brother. Just another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise.
Can't complain, another day living.
So today we're going to be doing a fitness type of podcast. And like I said, Chris is going to read off some questions. So let's just jump right into it and get to the questions.
Let's do it. All right, so we got the first one here, and it's what is the actual process of building muscle?
Okay, so the process of building muscle, from my best understanding, and I've been kind of studying this for a long time. I don't have a degree in anything. I'm not a doctor, so take everything I say with whatever type of salt you want to take it with. But my understanding of the muscle building process is you go into the gym, you work out the muscles, you break down muscle fibers, and then your body goes into a state of trying to recover the muscles. Now, this is where things get a little bit, people start to disagree on things, but my understanding and what I go with when I talk to people about this is when you're breaking down muscle fibers, you start to tear down little microfibers in the muscle cells. The muscle cells then act as a mechanism in the body, so they send an alert response to your brain, and your brain goes into a mode of trying to rebuild all these muscles. So what happens is after you leave the gym, your body is in a state of almost like a shock state. So obviously throughout the day, we're not working the muscles as intensely as we are in the gym. It's almost like if your body were to be in the wild and you were to have been running from something or chasing something like primitive humans have. You tear down these fibers, and then you go, and now it's time to feast. So this would be like your post-workout meal. And what it's called, it's actually called muscle protein synthesis. So muscle protein synthesis is the building of these muscle tissues on top of the tear. So once your body tears down the muscle, it obviously wants to rebuild it to bring it back to a state of normality. A lot of people don't really understand the concept of the body wanting to stay in a pretty steady state. So if you're building muscle, your body wants to eventually return to a state where it's normal. So that's where muscle protein breakdown comes in. And when you're breaking down muscle, which is the opposite of building muscle, it's called muscle protein breakdown, which you do in the gym or you do when you're fasting or in periods where you're not feeding your body. Your body wants to rebuild the muscle or rebuild whatever has been taken out. So basically, let's just say you worked out legs today. So you depleted all of the glycogen, which is carbohydrates stored in the muscle. The glycogen is the energy that the muscle uses for the workout. And then the body goes and it wants to replenish this glycogen. So if you leave the gym and you have, let's just say, a meal with carbohydrates and protein, the carbohydrates are going to release a response in the body via insulin. So the insulin will tell the carbohydrates that you just ate to go to the muscle, and it'll take whatever else is in there, aka if you eat protein with your carbohydrate meal, to also shovel to the muscle. And the protein is broken down into peptides, which are chains of amino acids, and then those peptides are broken down into amino acids, which essentially get shuffled to the muscle cell and start the rebuilding process. Now, there are 3 important amino acids. Those are called BCAAs, branched chain amino acids. Those are the 3 active components of muscle protein synthesis. The number one being leucine. It is the most important amino acid when you build muscle. So leucine goes into the muscle cells. It triggers a response by something called mTOR, and mTOR activates IGF-1, which is insulin-like growth factor. Just think of that as the growth response in the body, along with different hormones like testosterone, which helps these receptors act better. A whole bunch of different processes happen, but basically the leucine and all the other essential amino acids, which are 9 of them, work together, led by leucine, to trigger mTOR, which will in turn build muscle. So I know it's a lot to take in, but shortly, you break down muscle in the gym, you go home, you refeed, and then over the next 24 to 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it might be, whatever your body's recovery process is, your body's going to rebuild all the tissue that it burned down in the gym, and then hence over time you build more muscle.
Okay, so it's basically, it's the ripping of the muscle fibers and then rebuilding those by the consumption of carbohydrates, protein, stuff like that is going to help rebuild those muscle fibers stronger and bigger than they were
Yes,
previously.
and like fats also play a role in muscle protein synthesis because fats help your body regulate hormones. But the two most important things in the muscle building process are carbohydrates and protein. So that's why I always recommend after the gym consuming a meal that has carbohydrates, whether that be simple or complex, and a protein source. The best possible scenario is to eat the most amount of carbohydrates of your day post-workout. Like I said, after you work out a certain body part, your body depletes something called glycogen, which is stored carbohydrates in the muscle. So when something, like I said, in the body is in an alarm phase via being depleted of the glycogen, your body's going to want to compensate for that. So your body goes into a state where it actually uptakes carbohydrates a lot better. And this is shown in research up to 90 minutes or up to an hour. So like the more time passes, the more the body's going to use whatever is stored in the body to do those processes. But if you feed it something and it's available in the bloodstream, aka carbohydrates that are simple like sugars or like rice or something that's not like something that doesn't have fiber, it'll use these nutrients to help shuffle all the nutrients like protein into the muscle cells, hence starting the process of muscle protein synthesis. And basically, when you build muscle, all you're doing is duplicating the amount of muscle cells that already exist by creating new ones and breaking and fixing the ones that have been torn down to make them bigger. And over time, obviously, the smaller tears will build on each other, and then throughout the months of building muscle, you'll start to accumulate more muscle cells and accumulate stronger muscle cells, bigger muscle cells, and that's how you basically build muscle. So there's a lot more that goes into it, obviously, but that's like the overview, and that's, I feel like it's still kind of complicated for people to understand. But basis, your body breaks down muscle, aka muscle protein breakdown. Your body wants to build muscle, muscle protein synthesis with the use of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats to regulate hormones in the body, to use these as building blocks.
Okay. Well, that was a lot to take in, and you kind of answered, two of the other questions.
What were the other questions?
While discussing that one. One of them was meals after workouts, how crucial, and I'm sure that the viewers probably could understand that it's pretty crucial.
Yeah, it's pretty crucial. I mean, like, let me just throw this over to you. Like, you feel like I feel shitty if I don't have like some sort of meal or shake after a workout. Like, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's like to me, it is 1,000% crucial. I can definitely tell a difference in my body right after a workout. I mean, I feel exhausted, depleted of this glycogen that you speak of, and it's like after a workout, even if I can't get a full meal in, even a shake, a protein bar, anything to really put into my body makes me feel 100 times better.
Yeah, 100%. And you always. And like, if you're not eating carbs after you work out, your body has other processes of breaking down different nutrients in the muscle and in the bloodstream. For example, if you ate carbs before your workout or like throughout the day, there's going to be some trace carbohydrates in the bloodstream already. So it's not like if you don't eat any carbs after your workout, you're not going to build any muscle. It's just we're talking about optimizing the processes that happen during that stage. And like I said, your body goes into an alarm state where it starts to differentiate between what's important and what's not. And after you work out, the most important thing in your body at that moment is to rebuild the muscle you broke down.
Yeah, and I would say that like he's touched on, rebuilding that muscle does come from a lot of the nutrients that we are putting into our body. So a meal after the workout, especially within that first 90-minute window where you're going to absorb the most of the nutrients that you're consuming, it is extremely crucial.
100%. So like recap, just make sure you're eating a good meal after you work out. Preferably high in carbohydrates, high in protein. And if you're trying to cut down or lose weight, just prioritize those. Fats can come later in another meal.
And another one of those that you kind of answered, let's just go into a little bit more depth, is muscle protein synthesis. What exactly is it? Just explain the process a little bit further.
So like I was saying before, muscle protein synthesis is the regeneration of broken down muscle cells, also the building of different muscle cells. So when there's two ways you can build muscle. You can either create new muscle cells, and from my understanding of creating new muscle cells, it comes through the release of IGF-1, which is called insulin-like growth factor. So that's turned on when carbohydrates are present. So that's another benefit of eating carbohydrates after you work out, is you turn on IGF-1 within the muscle cells. Testosterone also is released after you work out to increase the receptibility of these IGF-1 cells in the muscle tissue or in the muscle cells to act better, to act more efficiently. Like I said, it kind of goes back to the body is going to want to get to that state of normality. So it's going to do what it has to do to make sure that that happens. So like, for example, if you've ever had an instance where you're like running from something or you're like really scared, and you have to like physically act in a emergency type of manner, a lot of times you can do more than what you normally could do. Like if let's say you're running from the police, for example, your body will release adrenaline so that you can produce more ATP. You can be more, like you can run longer, you can run faster. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like if you're nervous or something, or, some people crumble under the pressure, but some people get better. So the same way your body's in kind of like that state where it's like an emergency state where it needs to find the most effective and optimal way, and if you feed it what it needs via amino acids, which are found in proteins, or carbohydrates, your body will utilize that a lot better than if you're just sitting around throughout the day and you're shuffling a bunch of food in. Not saying that your body's not going to use that food. If you eat 3 hours after your workout, it's not like none of that's going to be shuffled to the muscle cell, but it's just more effective post-workout. And muscle protein synthesis is like the highest. It starts to slow down in the muscle cell that you worked throughout the next 24 to 48 hours. So it's at its highest within that 90-minute period, or it's wanting to start as fast as it can, and you want to just jump on that quickly, because the thing I never really understood is when people don't eat after their workout, it's like, why would you not want to feed it right away so you can recover faster? That way you can train it more often. It just makes the most sense. So basically, muscle protein synthesis is taking amino acids with carbohydrates to rejuvenate muscle cells that have been broken down and also create new muscle cells.
Okay. Real quick, how beneficial would you say amino acids are?
I would say amino acids are pretty beneficial. Like you guys probably know, we are coming out with a new product that has amino acids in it. That's something that I like to take in its raw form whenever I can, because like I was saying before, protein is broken down into peptides, which are just chains of amino acids. And then that is also broken down into amino acids to separate, like the singular amino acids. So there's actually 20 amino acids. There's 9 essential amino acids. And when we talk about the essential amino acids, those are the ones that your body cannot create without introducing them to the body via food. So there's 20 amino acids that there's 11 amino acids out of the 20 that your body can make from other amino acids or different stored muscle tissue, muscle cells, but there are 9 essential amino acids that your body can only get from food. So, and realistically can only get in the levels that you need them from meat products, fish products, and different animal products. They're harder to find in like these soy proteins or these vegan proteins, pea protein, rice protein, or what else is there? Whatever other vegan proteins, I don't really know, quinoa protein, they have those amino acids, but they're just not at the level which your body needs to. And I think one of the questions talks about that later, but basically you want to try to consume animal products because they contain the most of the essential amino acids, which are crucial for muscle protein synthesis. And just to preface real quick, to start muscle protein synthesis, your body needs all 9 essential amino acids, but the 3 amino acids that actually trigger the mechanisms to make it turn on to the point to where it's actually going to be functional and rebuild that tissue are the BCAAs. That's why a lot of people drink BCAAs, to help continue the process of muscle protein synthesis. But if you don't have the other 6 out of the 9, because those 3 also are in those 9, then your body's not going to go into muscle protein synthesis at the level, if not at all, that it would with all of them present. And the number one amino acid for muscle protein synthesis is leucine. Leucine triggers something called mTOR, which is basically the reason why your body is able to produce more muscle cells. So it's like a domino effect. Like you eat a chicken breast, which essentially turns into leucine, which essentially turns on mTOR, which mTOR upregulates IGF-1, which builds new muscle tissue and repairs the muscle tissues that have been broken down in the gym.
Okay, so just to clarify for the viewers here, so someone can consume branch chain amino acids, the BCAAs, mm-hmm. but it wouldn't be extremely beneficial if the essential amino acids that you can only get from introducing food to your body are also there to help them work.
Yes. The only thing that BCAAs by themselves are good for, from my understanding, is when you're in the gym or you're in an exercise state and your body is going to start breaking down protein because it hasn't eaten protein in a while. The benefit of taking just BCAAs would be that your body, instead of breaking down the amino acids that are stored within the muscle cells, it'll break those down because they're in your bloodstream.
Just use those as the energy.
As energy source, basically.
Nice. Now here's actually a good one. I hear a lot of controversy on this, just from people I hear. Overeating protein. Is this factual? Is it not? What happens to the excess protein? How much can your body really absorb at one time?
So this kind of like, this is something that's been studied, but never been really studied on individuals that are like super active, like me and Chris, for example, or someone who's probably watching this podcast that works out a lot or wants to work out a lot. They say the limit is 40 grams of protein, but what people don't understand is that all the protein you eat is not shuffled into the muscle. So when you eat like a steak or a chicken breast or drink a protein shake, it's not like all of those 40 grams of protein are going to go straight to your biceps and start the muscle protein synthesis process, or they're not going to help muscle protein breakdown. Some of that stuff, and I don't know the ratio, and I don't think anyone does because it hasn't really been tested, but let's just say, for example, 70% is sent to muscle protein synthesis, and the other 30% is used to the body, is sent to the body. So we're really dealing with 25 grams of protein, so you're not even at that 40% that 40 gram threshold, because protein does not only build muscle, it builds hair, it builds nails, it helps regulate hormones, it helps build organs, it helps different processes in the body. So protein is just a building block. So your body's always building every day. So like if you bite your nails, the next day your nails are gonna start regrowing, right? The same way if you get a haircut, your body's gonna regrow the hair. So all of those proteins, which essentially are broken down to amino acids, are going to be used for those processes which never stop. The same way muscle protein synthesis and protein breakdown never stop throughout the day. It's always going on. Either one's on, one's off. They're happening at the same time. Your body's going to use those proteins, those amino acids, to rebuild whatever's going on in your body. Immune support, with the coronavirus or whatever, to help fight bacteria. Those are all fueled by protein. And if you're just eating the bare minimum, which let's just say is 40 grams, most likely not all of that is going to be used for the muscle building process. So I always say it's better to overeat protein, because protein is not going to make you fat. It's very hard to turn protein into carbohydrates unless you are on a low calorie diet. But if you eat protein and it's not used, you're probably just going to oxidize it. You're going to burn it, and that will in itself burn calories. And also when you oxidize protein, your body is more likely to, like I said, oxidize those as an energy source, or just oxidize them freely, rather than like if you eat an excess of carbs or excess of fat, it'll be essentially stored if not used. So
okay, so it basically all gets used up. It's not like any of it's going to be stored.
And we're talking about people that work out, right? We're not talking about like an average guy who doesn't go to the gym, or like a mom who never works out.
Yeah.
We're talking about people that like intensely work out and train 4 or 5 times a week. Those people will benefit from eating more protein. This is the analogy I like to use. Like bodybuilders, and take away the steroids. Now, let's just say natural bodybuilders are the biggest people on the planet in terms of muscle mass, and their diets consist of a large amount of protein. So if we're trying to maximize how much muscle we can build, why would we not follow a diet that's centered around building muscle and burning fat? So
yeah. And something that I actually found very interesting that I learned not too long ago is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, the process of just eating protein on its own burns calories, because it's such a complex nutrient that gets broken down, and that's something that's burning calories in our body.
Yes. It's called the thermic effect of food. A lot of the other macro, or not a lot of, there's only 2 other ones, the carbs and fats, they're a lot more simple for the body to break down, carbs being the easiest. That's why if you eat like carbohydrates within, like if you eat like a candy bar, for example, or like a cup of rice by itself, you'll feel like a little bit of an energy lift, like your bloodstream, because that's your bloodstream is elevating glucose levels, which will help you feel more energized. And that happens within 20 minutes. Like if you go eat Skittles right now, your veins are probably going to pop. You're going to feel a little bit more energized. And then within the hour, your blood levels are going to fall low, and you're going to feel tired. Essentially, these carbohydrates especially are very time oriented. So like that's why when I eat carbs, I try to time them properly. Like I'm not just going to eat a shit ton of carbs unless I'm lazy or I'm just doing it because I'm out at dinner. I'm not just going to eat a bunch of them for no reason unless I'm going to exercise or recover from exercise. Because like you were saying, it doesn't require as much energy to burn. Therefore, it's more likely to be stored as an energy source for later. Or if you're already full, which most people that eat carbohydrates in their diet pretty much have full glycogen stores in their muscle. So once all those stores in your muscle and your muscle cells are pretty much full, your brain uses whatever glucose it needs, your body uses whatever it needs. The excess is going to go into a process that will be stored as fat. And fat is the same way. Fat's a little bit more long term and it has, multiple ways it can be broken down in the body via triglycerides. So 3 different bonds, three different types of fats. So fats is a little bit more complex process, but protein is broken down into so many amino acids that can be used for so many different things. So like I said, and like Chris was saying, it's more beneficial to eat more protein because in reality, you can eat the same amount of protein in terms of calorie wise. Let's say 100 calories from a chicken breast versus 100 calories from a cup of rice. You will burn more of the calories from that food from just digesting it than you will from the carbohydrates. So
yeah, that definitely makes sense. And like I said, that's super interesting. I don't think a lot of people know that, honestly.
Yeah, it's a lot of people used to argue against it. People used to just be like calories in versus calories out is all that matters. And I've always said that that's not necessarily true. And now people are starting to research that protein is the most important macronutrient, not just for building muscle, but for regulating your body composition, making sure you stay lean and whatnot. So
yeah, it's awesome, man. That honestly circles into the next question, and it's going to be, what are the benefits or not benefits of a fasted workout versus a meal before a workout? And I mean, going off of just what you just said, the meal before the workout, especially if it's something like a cup of rice, easy carbohydrates, is just going to be burnt up as quick energy, and it'll be beneficial for the workout. Correct?
So yeah, I like to eat food before I work out, even if it's not carbs. I will eat carbs before I work out unless I'm like really trying to cut down. But yeah, I would always try to work out with something in your stomach, just because your body's gonna want to utilize energy quickly and efficiently. And once you run out of the glycogen stores, which are within the muscle, which glycogen is not, it's not like if you eat a grain of rice or a cup of rice, it's not like your body's gonna store all the carbs right away into the muscle. Some of it's going to be used for energy. So there's stores that are already in your muscle cells from like the day before. So if you eat carbohydrates before you work out, a lot of times you'll use some of that for brain energy. It'll circulate around your bloodstream. Some of that will be used for energy right in the moment. And then some of that eventually will be used to replenish the stuff you burned up. I just always thought it's better to work out or eat before I work out, just so I don't go into muscle protein breakdown at a level that's higher than what I want. Obviously, we're going to break down muscle when we work out, but if we're depleted already, there's not going to be anything from the body to pull from in terms of energy sources. So once it's already depleted its energy source via whatever's in the muscle cells, if you overtrain when you train fasted, let's say you train for 2.5 hours or 2 hours, then you start to get into an area where your body might start breaking down some protein, extra protein that you don't want to be broken down to use as energy.
Okay, that makes sense. But would you say that there's benefits of a fasted workout if it's not for an extended period of time?
Yeah, I would say fasted cardio is probably the biggest thing. But also fasted workouts, like a lot of people. So the thing is, when you eat carbs, your blood sugars shoot up. That's why if you ever eat like a piece of bread or some rice by itself, your blood glucose levels go up tremendously, and then they start to fall. So you get that like crash from carbs. But when you're fasted, your body's blood glucose levels are pretty much flattened out because you have nothing for it to raise it or lower it. So if anything, they'll be a little bit low when you're fasted. And that's good because your body will do what it has to do to regulate it to make sure it gets to a steady level. So if it's low, it'll release different hormones. The hormone to raise blood sugar is called glucagon, and insulin lowers blood sugar, glucagon raises blood sugar. So if you work out fasted, you're going to see less of an energy drop rather than if you work out with like a big carbohydrate meal before, because you'll have that energy source for like 20, 30, 40 minutes. And then that's why if you've ever experienced a workout, let's say without pre-workout, with just like a workout just with food, sometimes towards like the hour you start to get tired, not just because you've been working out for so long, but also because your blood sugars are dropping from the food you just ate.
Now, is it true that your body will start pulling stored fat for an energy source if you're trying to work out fasted?
Yes and no, because fat is only used at a certain threshold. So fat is burned when your heart rate is below, there's a calculation for it, but under about 150 beats per second or beats per minute. That's why when you do low intensity cardio, you're burning fat as an energy source, because fat is more like, think about fat like long duration energy. So there's ATP, which is energy source from what happens when you first start exercise, essentially. So within the first 10 to 15 seconds, let's say you're doing like a bench press, the first 10 or 15 seconds, your body's going to use ATP, which is an energy source that's quick. So within that time period, it's over. Then from like 15 seconds to about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, your body will use glucose. And then after that, your body is going to start shuffling in fats as an energy source, since it's a longer period of time.
Okay.
So essentially you would be burning some fat, but if you go at a high intensity level, and also the fact that we're going to be, let's say we're lifting weights, essentially the only source of energy for lifting weights is going to be muscle, glycogen within the muscle, which will be carbohydrates. So like you will kind of burn fat, but it's only really beneficial in terms of like burning a substantial amount of fat is if you're fasted doing cardio, doing like steady state cardio.
Like a low intensity.
Yeah, low intensity. State. That's why a lot of people do fasted cardio in the morning. It's because the idea around it is that you have no carbs in the bloodstream, and you're not working out. Let's say you're doing Stairmaster, you're not working out at an intensity that your body needs to use stored glycogen in the muscle cells, because the intensity level is low, that it'll pull fat from fat cells to use as energy. That's the whole concept behind it. But let's say you do HIIT cardio in the morning, like sprints, your body can't use fat quick enough to fuel that exercise, so it's going to pull from the muscle cells.
Okay. I see what you're saying. I get that.
Yeah. there's like a, and this is all depending on who you speak to. People have different ideologies on how things work, but I'm trying to speak based off of a physiological standpoint, because a lot of people argue for HIIT cardio, which I don't think HIIT cardio is bad. I think HIIT cardio is actually really good for conditioning and weight loss. But HIIT cardio actually doesn't really burn that much fat during the actual exercise itself. It burns fat over a period of time after. There's like an afterburn effect is what they call it, versus like steady state cardio, which is burning the actual fat within the exercise itself. So you're using fat literally when you're on the Stairmaster doing low intensity cardio, you're burning fat cells, versus HIIT cardio, you're burning stored glycogen within the muscle, and that triggers a response that helps you burn fat after the actual exercise itself for the next 48 hours.
Okay. So like a fasted cardio, low intensity, steady rate would be beneficial to burning strictly fat.
Burning strictly fat and trying to preserve as much muscle as you can, because like I said, when you're in that fasted state, there's always that, and people that do intermittent fasting might argue against this, but like I said, just look at bodybuilders. Like, they're the biggest people on this planet. Steroids or not, they have the most muscle mass, and they're the leanest. And if you go ask any top bodybuilder, no one's doing high intensity cardio.
Yeah, it's all steady state.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say about cardio before or after you weight train?
I would say cardio after you weight train, just so you don't burn up your energy because obviously, like, I can jump on the Stairmaster and do an hour of cardio and still feel pretty energized after. Like, I won't be that tired unless I'm doing like crazy, high intensity cardio, then yeah, of course. But if I do steady state and kind of like chill out, it's not too tiring. It is tiring, but it's not the same. But like, I don't know, it's just preference. But I'll go into like a little bit of science after this, but it's really preference on what you want to do. But I would say that after your workout is better. That way you can use all the stored glycogen for the workout. Even if you're doing steady state cardio before you work out, there's still a chance you burn some glycogen within the muscle. Or you start to pull glycogen from other muscle stores. So I would always say working out first, doing your cardio second is beneficial, not just because you're going to be potentially burning energy from your workout, but also when you do cardio fasted, you do cardio after your workout, your body's almost in a fasted state, so it's going to be burning the fat that's been stored. Now, the only negative drawback against this is that it's the same principle that of working out fasted, because at that now we're getting into a point to where we just worked out, we want to shuffle the nutrients into the muscle, so we're still within that window, but now we have to do cardio, so we have to wait an extra 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So like, if it was up to me, and it is up to me because I could do whatever I want, obviously it's my if I had the optimal way of working out, I would do fasted cardio in the morning, I would have a meal after, protein and carbs, and then I would go work out and then eat my meal after I work out, and then, go on with my whole day. Sometimes we don't have that luxury. Sometimes we have to hit cardio whenever, or we have to hit cardio after our workout. So I would just say after your workout would be the best, because it's going to make sure that you optimize the amount of fat that you're going to burn with trying to preserve the least amount of muscle being lost, excess in the cardio that hasn't already been broken down in the workout.
Yeah, and when you say fasted state, you just mean your body's going to be depleted of all the glycogen because it's going to be used during that workout.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like, just to make this clear, like, your body's not going to deplete every single ounce of glycogen in its body from hitting chest. It's going to deplete the glycogen in the chest depending on how long you work out, how much of an intensity you work out. So, like, don't think that, well, I'm not trying to say that your body's always depleting entire glycogen stores. That's impossible. So I just wanted to put that out there in case someone tries to check me.
All right, now we got one final question here. All right, so yeah, one of our viewers here, they're thinking about
John bodybuilding one.
Skinny Joe 561 says that he wants to start to lift, but he doesn't eat meat. He's a vegan.
Oh, dude, just don't do it.
Can he still build muscle?
Yes, of course. I actually have a friend of mine. His name is John Thomas. He's Instagram name bodybuilding vegan. Cool dude. He has a tremendous amount of muscle, and it's possible. It's definitely possible. Something I have known and something that I've reassured and confirmed with him and seen online is that, like I was saying earlier, plant sources of protein don't have the same amino acid levels that are necessary for building muscle as meat products, aka whey protein, meat, fish, chicken, whatever, pork, eggs. So if you're a vegan or vegetarian, I would highly recommend drinking multiple protein shakes a day, whey protein isolate, and eating eggs as much as you can, especially, like I said, we were saying post-workout. But if you're fully vegan, I recommend getting a essential amino acid supplement that has all 9 essential amino acids in there. So post-workout, consume double the serving and just eat a higher level of protein. My friend John and I have talked about this, I think on a podcast or in person. He eats upwards of like 400 grams of protein a day. I do too, but I overdo everything. But yeah, he eats a lot of protein because he knows that the threshold of what's going to be used in the muscle is not as high as if he was eating 200 grams of meat product protein. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's less of a protein.
Yeah, it's almost, it's like, exactly what you're saying. Let's just say there's 22 grams of BCAAs in a chicken breast. I'm just making this up. I have no idea. And let's say a soy steak or whatever the fuck they eat. There's only 11 grams in the same amount serving. The same amount of protein, because maybe there's other amino acids in there that are not essential or not really useful in the muscle building process. You would have to double that serving to get the same amount of branched chain amino acids, essential amino acids. So if you're doing that as a vegan, highly recommend taking an amino acid supplement, BCAA, EAA, whatever it is, and also doubling down on protein, and then maybe cutting back a little bit of your calories from different, carbohydrates or whatever, limiting fat. But I would definitely recommend overdoing the protein. You might fart a lot. You might have some indigestion, but if you're really into building muscle, you should definitely look into that. But at the end of the day, this is to maximize muscle growth. And this is something that I wanted to talk about, just telling people that are watching this podcast and people that follow this stuff, is that we're talking about optimizing and maximizing muscle protein synthesis. Everything we're saying is so that you can maximally grow your muscles, because a lot of times people say, well, you don't really have to do all this to build muscle. That's true. You can still build muscle off only eating, let's say, 150 grams of protein a day. But more than likely, you aren't perfect in everything else you do. So why not try to be as best as you can in each area? It's not like you're sleeping perfect, you're eating perfect, you're training perfect, or not, you're sleeping perfect, you're training perfect, there's going to be some discrepancies in what you do. We're normal human beings. So why not try to make up by eating a little extra protein, cutting down carbs? See, the thing is, I'm not against no carbs, or like, I'm not against like people eating a lot of carbs. I think carbs are good. But carbs and protein have the same amount of calories. And like we were saying before, protein can be burned more at a higher level. You burn more calories eating protein than you do carbohydrates. So you can actually eat more protein and burn the same amount, or burn more calories, or even the same amount of calories if you're eating a certain amount of carbohydrates. And protein and carbs both have 4 calories per gram. So they're interchangeable essentially. Even if you don't take into account that protein burns more calories when you consume it, they're interchangeable. So if you have 1 gram of carb, you can take that out and change it for 1 gram of protein. It'll be the same amount of calories. On top of this, protein is burned more. It has a higher thermic effect in the body, so you can essentially eat a little bit more protein and have more calories and be in the same state as if you were to consume those calories via carbohydrates.
Nice. Yeah. So it sounds like they can still build some muscle.
Yeah,
they
of
just
course.
got to work a little harder for it.
Yeah, you just got to eat a little bit more, and I would definitely say like be very smart about how you're fueling your body when you work out. So like make sure you're not skipping meals, make sure you're staying on top of your nutrition. It's going to be a little bit harder, but it's definitely possible. And also, just to be real with you, you're probably like, if you're eating meat, like if let's say there's twins, one eats meat, one's just vegan, the one that eats meat is probably going to be bigger, leaner, and stronger than the one that's vegan. And that's just the truth. If you look at any pro bodybuilder, top pro bodybuilder, top pro athlete that has to do with muscle, most of them, and I'm saying most of them, are meat eaters, fish eaters, at least vegetarians. You can argue and say, well, this guy's vegan, but let's look at the majority, not the minority. So that's always a thing to think about. But it still can be done, and can be done very well.
Sounds good. That sounds good. Well, my water buffaloes, that was the last question that we had from our viewers. So.
Well, we appreciate you guys for watching this Buff Talk. This is a little bit more fitness centered. We hope to do more podcasts like this with more people in the future. Definitely want to plug up Chris's new stuff. So Chris is going to be dropping his own fitness entity. So make sure to go check him out.
Yes. I got an Instagram coming, website coming. We're going to do some merch soon. So, I mean, if you guys follow me on Instagram, please stay tuned. It's going to be big.
Definitely. We appreciate you guys for watching. For Chris Trevino, I'm Old School Matt. This has been another Buff Talk. We hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Peace.
Yeah, one more thing real quick is if you guys are out there watching and you have any questions you want us to bring up in the next podcast, please message us, DM us. We're here to share information and to teach people, what we know.
Definitely.
So
yeah, the knowledge and the little tricks might not help in the moment, but like over time, it's definitely builds on each other. So like, don't think about this in just like a one instant. Like if you miss a meal after your workout, it's not going to be the end of the world. You're not going to like lose all your muscle. But if you do it like today and do it tomorrow, you do it the next day, you do it for a year, you might get a 5% increase, which will make you 5% better than you were if you didn't do it. And then let's just say the year after you do the same thing, that's 10% or whatever. Maybe it compounds, maybe it's 12%. So over time, this stuff really matters. And like I said, everything I'm saying goes in accordance with bodybuilding standards, and even if you're not a bodybuilder, you can use what they do to help you build the most amount of muscle possible and get the physique that you want to get. If you slack off in these areas and you kind of like you're lackluster with what you do in terms of nutrition, training, you probably are going to be hindering the amount of muscle and the amount of fat you can burn. So
definitely. Well, thanks again, guys, for watching.
Peace.
Hey guys, thank you guys for checking out this video. Make sure to go check out all of our other podcasts, Buffalo Barbecues, our Buffalo workouts, and also a slew of other things, including challenges and whatnot. So make sure to check out all of these different things. Thank you guys for watching. I am Old School Matt here, and this is Water Buffalo TM. Peace.